Hit my 6. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Sick Twisted Humor.
Wait, wrong social media platform. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the most awesomest homesteading channel on the entire planet that has absolutely nothing to do with homesteading whatsoever. Homesteading off the grid. All right, so a couple of days ago, and remember to get my 6. Him, her, it, or they potentially love coming out when it's windy because they think that they can blend in with tree limbs and whatnot, shrubs and bushes as the wind blows it out and around and about. But they have a tendency not to be able to stop perfectly in time. So watch for that. Watch for movement after the stoppage of the rest of the movement. So I came out here a couple of days ago and kind of went off on a rant about just because I happened to just be out and about during the morning rush hour one morning. And I just had forgotten firsthand how crazy it is and how crazy like the lives of so many people are who are overextended, overworked, overstressed, underpaid. And so we got a lot of comments on that video, and I kind of made a video like that for Facebook too, for the Sick Twisted Humor page. I went live. It's got over 100,000 views, I think, just in a couple of days. And people have asked, they say, I get what you're saying. I understand it. I want out of the rat race too. How do we do it? What is it that we do? So I was kind of thinking about that. And then this afternoon, I went into in my office, there's a closet. I went in there where I store some finished art projects that are actually listed for sale on our Etsy store, along with my books I've written, some of them in print form, and the description box to that Etsy store is the link to the description box is the link to the Etsy store is in the description box below. All right. So because somebody, aside from books, people are always buying books, somebody bought some Bigfoot Sasquatch type Christmas ornaments I made years ago, and I was like, oh my gosh, do I even have those? So I went in there and I found them, and I did find them. But I'm showing you a couple of things because this is part of the answer to that question. People say, okay, I want to get out of the rat race too. I want to work for myself like you. I would love to do social media like you. These are neat. Homesteading off the grid. Merry Christmas 2022. Kevin Crazy Lake. Yeah, the young lady actually ordered this one, the gray one. I wanted to make sure I still had it. These are the Blanket Monster Christmas tree ornaments. We've seen some weird things around here, some of these videos, including things that look like somebody in a blanket with their little white stockinged feet hanging out on the bottom. It's crazy. And then there's this. Well, there's a bunch of others. I just grabbed several. Listen, and this is all part of the story. This clown mask, these ornaments. We're going to play some games. I'm going to ask you some riddles because this is all part of the answer to that question too. I'm going to show you these really pretty neat cards I made. Look, because this is basically what I'm getting at here is trial and error. Trial and error. If you ever want to go out on a limb and work for yourself, do your own thing, and leave the stability. Listen, the stability of a real job. You've got to go into it knowing that you're going to fail a lot. And you've got to, every time you fail, pick yourself back up and continue to move forward. Because it's not that you haven't quite found out your niche yet, or you haven't found out how to make it. You've just found out one more way how not to make it. And I'm reminded of the Thomas Edison quote when they asked him, how were you able to finally figure out how to make a light bulb work? And he said, well, first I had to figure out 10,000 ways how to make a light bulb that wouldn't work, because he failed. He estimated 10,000 times before he got it right. So you've got to have a stick-with-itness. You've got to have a never give up attitude. And the attitude part is the biggest answer to this question. And I know you're going to say, oh, that's all just mumbo jumbo. No, it's not. It's really not. But these are fun. I'm going to talk to you about the attitude, And something, listen, I know there's a lot of you folks on this channel that practice the same philosophy. It's called The Secret, or the law of attraction, the power of attraction. I was reminded today of just how effective that is, and I got a bruise on my finger and some thorns in here. I was working on our man-made forest. But I'm going to show you some of the things that I've done throughout the years that have failed for me. When this platform, YouTube, stopped sending you guys notifications of my videos here a couple of years ago, because they had called me, somebody from the company Google, who owns YouTube, called me and said, hey, this is great. You know, you've got over 300,000 subscribers. You've done it all on yourself. You've, 6-digit income just from this platform for multiple years in a row now. We want to help you make it to the next level. And I was like, oh, that's great. How do we do it? Well, and then they wanted me to e-beg, start asking me to give me super chats and all that. And I just refused to do it. So they started suppressing my views, unsubscribing people. I've had people who are now following me on the Facebook page, Sick Twisted Humor, which I think has 812,000 followers now, telling me in the comments, oh my God, I used to watch you on YouTube, but somehow I got unsubscribed, and I'm glad I found you again. Yeah, it was pay to play, and I didn't want to. So anyway, we decided we need to get on another platform, get monetized again. And I told you when that happened, I said, you give me 90 days and you'll see me going viral somewhere else. And people have seen my videos on TikTok. Those are stolen. People are stealing those. Somebody's messaged me about that. Yeah, I know. They do it all the time. TikTok is not a US-based company, and they are not governed by the same copyright guidelines that we are here in the US. Hopefully, listen, I have a good buddy that's in the CIA. He's actually a field agent. He will not let his wife use TikTok, and he tells his friends, do not use TikTok. It's not a conspiracy theory, okay? This is from an actual CIA agent. So I think, there's talk about Congress outlawing that platform in this country, and a lot of people are screaming about censorship. Let me tell you, I think it's a threat. So anyway, so we got back on Facebook, and we're doing great there now, doing better than we ever did on YouTube. But it took some time to figure out the content we had to create on Facebook to do better. We didn't plan to do as good as we're doing. I mean, last year we had a stellar year, almost doubled our best year ever. It's incredible. But it started out with this. I saw people doing stuff like this. And so I was making reels. I'd set the phone up on the stand. I wouldn't be in the picture. I didn't want to be in the picture. I just didn't want to be recognized from being over here on YouTube and all that. I was trying to kind of get my personal person out of what it is I do on social media, because it can be a drag sometimes. So anyway, I started with this. So I'd hold this, and I'd hold it for like 5 seconds. Can you guess? Okay. Then I'd open it up. What has cities but no houses, forests but no trees, and water but no fish? Okay, and then of course the people were supposed to answer in the comments section, and I'd wait an hour or so, and then I'd go give the answer. And the answer to that one, of course, is a map. Okay. What the heck? Oh, that's too long. This was kind of funny, I think. All right, so here we go. Sometimes truth hurts. Yeah, I took the time to make these with construction paper. I went from making circles and triangles and rectangles to look for Bigfoot Sasquatch to making these cards. So sometimes truth hurts, okay? Then I'd open it up. The problem is not that obesity runs in your family. The problem is that no one runs in your family. See, so it's kind of like sarcastic, dark humor, sick and twisted humor, right? None of this worked. And I did this for weeks. And then I would do riddles like this because I got tired of making the cards. They weren't working. So I'd just go like this. Can you guess this one? I am an odd number. Take away one letter, and I become even. What number am I? And I'd hold that for like 5 seconds, and I'd flip it. 7. See, take away one letter, now it's even. It didn't work. Didn't work. So did I give up and say, oh, it's too late to, make it on Facebook? Facebook's been around since 2004, 20 years now. And this is, again, just last year that we're trying to get back into it after having been successful on Facebook years ago, but having that rug pulled out from under us. But then we went to YouTube. So now it was time to go back and do some more Facebook stuff. So that didn't work. So I got this idea that I'd wear this creepy clown mask and I'd tell jokes wearing my bathrobe. And I would come out in the mornings. It was winter. We were doing this in January. I remember coming out when it was 0 degrees. The pond was frozen. The water in our house was frozen. And I was out here in a bathrobe and this mask telling jokes, seeing the steam just coming up from my breath. Didn't work. Didn't work. But I didn't give up. I just kept going, just kept doing it. Tried all this stuff with the Etsy store. This stuff, it's kind of neat, and we get the occasional sale, but not a whole lot. The books do well, of course, and I've been doing that forever. I've been writing my whole life. I tell you, if you haven't read The Lunatic, you need to. You can get it on Amazon and print and Kindle, or you can get an autographed copy from me from the Etsy store. But I wrote a book years ago called The Box, and I like the picture on the back of this. That's my family. That's shortly after we'd moved to Virginia from the Philippines. There's Daniel. He's just a tiny baby. Dearly was so young. She still looks young. And I was going to say I still had hair, but I actually have more hair now than I did then. So not everything is going to work. You've just got to be willing to continue to move forward until you find what does. You can't give up. And part of this attitude, that stick with it in this attitude, is that you've got to really be positive. You've got to train yourself to be positive. And there are several ways to do that. Here comes some geese. Hear them? Oh, there's a bunch of them. There's like 12. Hey, do you know why when you see geese flying in formation like the V, do you know why one line is longer than the other? Because there's more geese in it. Man, I need to put that in one of these cards, don't I? It's true, though. So I cannot emphasize this enough. Stay away from negative people. If you know people who are pessimistic, negative, curmudgeon-y, always looking for all the reasons why things won't work rather than looking for the reasons why things will work, stay away from them. Okay, another word for this is toxic, right? We're talking about toxic people. It's contagious. I made a video a couple weeks ago about how I divorced myself from my family of origin after 40 years of just being belittled, abused. Anytime I would have a success in my life, and I'd want to share that with them, they would beat me down and tell me I was starting to think I was somebody I wasn't and better get off my high horse. And I would actually beat myself down, and then I'd go back into periods of not being successful again. I would self-sabotage. Sometimes I would binge drink. It'd be like, wait a minute, who am I to think, I can be successful? My very parents, the people that brought me into this world, are telling me, you're a failure. Don't get used to success. Don't come asking us for help when you fail at your next stupid idea. I had to get away from it, and I haven't been around it for 12 years now or so, and I've never been happier. And the success is here. And I'll tell you, my greatest measure of success for me is the relationship I have with my wife and our son. He and I just finished playing football for an hour. He's got a game in the morning. I'm one of the coaches. Said I wasn't going to coach anymore, but I am. We go fishing all the time. We just absolutely love each other, and we love the lives that we live together. And I couldn't imagine telling my kid he couldn't do anything that he says he wants to do. I actually get out here and help him. I'm 50, and I train every morning because I'm a professional amateur athlete. This morning I ran 5 miles. I worked on my trees for an hour. Had lunch, took my nap. After that, I had some coffee, did some Facebook work, and then I went out in the yard and played with my son for an hour. And let me tell you, is it easy? No. It's tiring. At the end of the day, my arms are sore from using shovels and clippers and all this stuff. My legs, he wants me to run some pass plays, and I already ran 5 miles, but I do it because I love him. Okay, so you focus on relationships like this, not the bad ones. Okay. So stay away from toxic people. Now, if you have a tendency yourself to think negatively and say, "Oh, this isn't going to work," here's something I can't whatever. What is the word I'm looking for? I don't know. There's those geese again. They're distracting me. Yeah, I'm manic. Just a little. What we put into our heads through our ears, through our eyes, and what we put into our bodies through our mouth and our nose affects us, okay? News. Are you sitting there refreshing your whatever media of choice page constantly to see if Iran's attacked Israel yet and if U.S. has done anything about it? Are you looking at all the terrible, nasty stuff going on in the world constantly? That's poisoning your brain. Yes, those things are out there. Listen, I will never accept the fact that we live in a world where people hate each other because of religion, race, sexual orientation, gender identification, political views. You see that so much here. But I accept the fact that I live in a world where these things are simply facts. It's taking place. Okay, I don't accept that mentality. I don't accept that hate, but I accept the fact that that's the world we live in. And me sitting there watching media or listening to these media broadcasts and podcasts and putting that poison in my ears is not going to help me. It's going to hurt me. Okay? And I used to do it years ago. And even I would watch the programs I liked. And what's their main goal? It's not to really inform you, but it's to get you to hate the people that don't think the way you think. So I would watch the talking heads on legacy media outlets going on and on about all the things I was in agreement with and say, yes, yes. And then why don't people that don't think like me get it? Well, they must be ignorant. They're just not as smart as me. You know, or maybe they think they're smarter than they really are. But I was angry. Then it occurred to me I was listening to things I agreed with, but getting angry because that was their goal. It was to make me angry. Stop doing it. When I work throughout the day, when I'm writing, when I'm scheduling Facebook posts, when I'm doing just about anything, when I'm working on my art, you know, I've recently taken up colored pencil drawing. I listen to instrumental, calming music on YouTube, and I pay to not get commercials, so I never have the commercials. It's well worth it because listen, when I would take my naps, I snore. And the minute Google heard me snoring because I would have my YouTube playing this music on my laptop, they'd hear me snoring, they'd blast me with a really loud commercial to try to sell me something. And this is true. If you think it's not, I'm not the one that's crazy. It's 2024. Everybody knows this is how technology works. What was it just the other day? Oh, I can't remember. I think I either bought something or I said I was going to. Oh, yeah, a Purple Martin hotel. You know, the beautiful, like, chrome purple birds, metallic purple birds. I finally got a Purple Martin hotel. I always wanted one since we moved in here, but they're kind of pricey. It was like $250 once I got the telescoping pole for it. So I told my wife that I'd never, well, I don't want to say I've never Googled them. I hadn't Googled them or looked them up for years, but I told Dearly, I'm getting a Purple Martin house this spring. I'm going to do it. I'm going to reward myself, and I want to see the Purple Martins. They eat the mosquitoes, the beetles, all these things. The next time I got on the internet, which was just minutes later because, you know, I work on the internet, I was getting served ads for Purple Martin houses. So yes, they do listen. All right. But get rid of the news, the media, the toxic people, put pleasantness in your head. Number 3, firmly believe in this. This is a big part of it. This is the easy part. Figuring out what works. Is it this? No, not really. Is it this? No, not really. Is it this? Yeah, the writing to a great degree. I never realized it until I get my 1099s, like in February for the previous year for the taxes, and I'm like, I actually made that much selling books last year? Wow, I could live on that. But I don't have to because, listen, I get 8 different 1099s, and this is part of that once you make it over the hump. I mean, I get 1099s from Google, 2 from Amazon, 1 for being an author, 1 for being an affiliate marketer. I get 1099s from Facebook, of course. There's a lot of them. And so what this is throughout the years, through this trial and error, get a 1099 from Etsy, you will end up creating for yourself multiple streams of income. And it's really nice because, you know what, a couple months ago, I did have a not so good month on Facebook because it was our last month in the Philippines and I was partying with the family so much and going around. We're taking beautiful vacations and I just wasn't working much. I think I made 5 videos for YouTube the whole 5 months I was over there. So when one income stream's down because it just wasn't a good month, you got those 7 other income streams and it all adds up, and so you're fine. Because somebody asked, they said, oh, but what about your health insurance? What about your pension plan? What about your all these quote unquote benefits that some of these jobs people have that they hate to make them miserable, dangle in front of their face and say, oh, but you get this benefit? In time, with success and with patience and with stick-with-itness, you'll create all those programs for yourself. Listen, and don't have debt. Don't go out buying every stupid little thing you don't need, which we don't. When we do need something, we pay cash. And then it's like, pension? Okay, I get a 1099 from Charles Schwab, my brokerage account. My dividends, or my pension, we could pay all our bills every month just from the revenues generated from the more than 2,000 YouTube videos I've made in the last 6 years. If I make not another video, you know, this video made 3 cents today, that video made $3 today, that video made $30 today. Multiply all that by 2,000. It's insane. So these benefits you think you have, you will replace on your own by creating them yourself. Okay? But now the third thing, this will be the fourth thing now, because I just talked about how do you replace your benefits. You become your benefits. I mean, you become your pension, you know? The secret, the law of attraction. Listen, I am convinced this is real. Thoughts have energy. And when you put that energy out there into the universe feels that energy, and the universe basically gives you what you're telling it you want. And now listen, you got to be cautious with this, because you're telling the universe what it is you want with the thoughts you're having. So police your thoughts, control your thoughts. Let's say you've got an older car and you're afraid it's just going to break down. You're afraid it's always going to break down. If you're thinking, oh my gosh, I hope my car doesn't break down today. Oh my gosh, I don't have the money for car repairs. I hope nothing goes wrong with my car. Guess what? Kaput. Something's going to happen to your car, because that's the energy you're sending to the universe. And, you know, I mentioned earlier toxic people, bitter, negative, jaded curmudgeons. I've known people like this in my past, and I've had to get away from them. And they always seem to have bad things happening to them. Now, this is for 2 reasons. Number one, it's because they don't acknowledge the good, because they don't have the capacity to be grateful for their blessings, because they're always focused on the negative. But number 2, they're constantly putting out there to the universe negative, 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 negative. So the universe says, okay. Going to tell you something that happened to me today, because I got caught up in this and I just heard a tree knock. While I was pulling weeds today, for some reason, I had a somewhat unpleasant memory go through my mind of something that happened when I was in the Philippines this past winter. It was just something stupid somebody said, you know? But I caught myself latching on to that invasive thought and thinking about it over and over and over. And I was thinking, oh, I should have said this, or I should have said that. And I was like, you know what, the hell with it. I'm just never going back there again. I get sick and tired of hearing that. And I'm pulling these weeds, and then all of a sudden, ouch! I grab onto a vine of thorns, and it hurt, and I had to, pick them out with my teeth. But I sat back and I laughed, because it was like it was a wake-up call from the universe. The universe saying, hey, this is what you want? You've been out here working. It was working for up to almost an hour at that point. No problems. Everything's going great. But that minute I got that negative, intrusive thought and started running with it. I started sending negative energy out to the universe, and man, I hurt my finger. And I laughed, and I stopped thinking about that. How? By making the choice to think about other things. Think of something pleasant, something that makes you happy, and then start thinking about that. That really is that simple, but it takes years worth of training to get to that point. But that's the answer. As far as, finding your niche, if you want to do social media, or if you want to just do any other sort of self-employment, do your own job, pursue your passion and pursue it relentlessly. And you might have to pursue it in such a way that you never really thought of. I mean, my passion is storytelling, right? So for years and years, I've been writing books, written a couple dozen of them. But as it turns out, my biggest success in storytelling comes from talking into the camera and telling the stories orally on social media. Make many multiples in revenue on social media than the actual book sales. Do I still aspire to be a good author, a great author? I sure do, and I still write. I wrote over 1,000 words today, working on a lot of stuff. But I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth, that gift horse being a form of storytelling that I never saw myself actually becoming successful at, and it's right here. So I'm going to end with this story. It's kind of creepy, but let me push the box for a minute. You go to Amazon and read this book, and I wrote this and published it a year before we started this YouTube channel. It basically is a story about a couple who want to pursue their passions, which in the book it was music. There was a girl who was a singer. She was a stockbroker, didn't like it. The guy was actually a good writer, but he didn't want to pursue a career in English lit because he loved to play the box. It's called the cajon. It's the percussion instrument you sit on, and he made his own boxes. He wanted to make boxes, sell boxes, be in music. He meets this girl. She wanted to leave her stockbroker job where she was making a fortune and be a singer. Well, they did it. They pursued their passion, and they ended up going viral on YouTube. And it's a spoiler alert, but basically this story is a roadmap to everything I'm just telling you. So when they pulled the rug out from underneath us on Facebook, I remembered that I actually wrote the textbook. It's fiction though, it's a novel, on how to be successful on YouTube. And I thought, why don't we do what I wrote in that book and see if it works? And it did. Okay, but here's the creepy story. So, and it has to do with the law of attraction. I have an old friend. He's no longer with us. His name was PJ. And if you follow my October Night series, #1 selling short story collection every October in the Halloween genre for the last couple of years. So, In the Lunatic, by the way, was the #1 best-selling novel on Etsy the year it came out. And you think, well, that's Etsy. Yeah, look and see how many books are on there, bro. It's a lot, okay? So, PJ, he's dead. He inspired me to become a storyteller. He's told me some of the greatest stories I've ever heard, and there's stories about him in some of my October Nights stories. He told me once he was out in the woods, and I've never told this story because of the PJ's dead, and the guy the story's about is dead too. And the families, I know they wouldn't watch me or whatever. I'm sure but I always kind of never told this story because of out of respect for the surviving families. But PJ and this other guy, and I'm not even going to say this other guy's name, but what I'll tell you about this other guy is this other guy was only 2 years older than me, okay? And he's been dead for about 10 years now. They were out in the woods one day, and they had a bulldozer because they lived on top of a mountain back in Appalachistan, and they would make their own trails, and you should have seen their deer stands they hunted out of. They were like tree houses. They had wood stoves in them. It was great. You could camp in those things. So they're out there with the bulldozer doing some kind of excavating work on their mountain one day. Well, they like a tree, like a sapling about this big and round, gets stuck under the blade somehow, and they can't get it out. Well, the other guy, not PJ, but the other guy, he jumps up on that bulldozer and he's trying to rip that limb out of there, and he loses his cool and he starts cursing and cussing and taking the Lord's name in vain, every worst way you could imagine doing it. And PJ said he was getting nervous. He said he'd never seen this guy this irate. It's like he was cursing the skies. Well, he was doing this, and all of a sudden that limb came up from underneath that blade, and right where the tree forked, both forks smacked him in the face and in the chest, knocked his teeth out and broke his ribs. And he died not long after that, potentially from altercations from that accident. I mean, it messed him up. And when I grabbed that thorn today, because I was entertaining that negative, intrusive thought in my head, and I was saying some things in my head that I wouldn't want anybody to hear me say verbally, the universe gave me what I was telling it I wanted. So listen, be prepared to fail. Just also be prepared to get back up and continue to move forward after you do fail. Understand you're going to have to go through a million ideas that probably won't work before you find one that does. Stay away from toxic people. They're poisonous. Their negative, toxic attitude is contagious. Stay away from negativity in the media, in the movies you watch, the music you listen to. Project positive thoughts out there to the universe, because the universe will project back, and it's going to project what you're projecting to it. And never, ever, 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 ever give up. See you next time for more.